Hi everybody, welcome back to the third section of the Pink Monitor 2014, Reaching LGBT Australian Consumers. This last section, what we're going to do is take you through some proven strategies that you can use to successfully reach and target and appeal to the LGBT market. So what we have here is basically a map of the way things are today. And the vertical axis, we've got mainstream media at the bottom, and then we've got LGBT media and events at the top. And on the left, we've got non-LGBT creative, so that's just your regular ads that don't feature LGBT people or themes. And then on the right, we've got LGBT creative, so ads that would depict LGBT people or themes. And basically, in the bottom left-hand corner is what we would call business as usual. Most marketers just running ads in mainstream media that don't necessarily feature LGBT people. The first strategy that we recommend companies take if they want to get into this market is what we call extend. So that's using the same creative that you might normally use in other mainstream media, but just running it across LGBT media and events. So I think Domain is a good example of a brand that does that. So Domain, the retailer, runs an ad quite often in the Star Observer that is their weekly sale ad. And it's the same ad that you'd see in perhaps the Sydney Morning Herald or The Age, but it's reaching LGBT people who might not be picking up the newspapers anymore. The next thing you can do is what we call champion. So that's creating actual ads that feature LGBT people or themes and then placing them in LGBT media and events. That's kind of what Gold Coast Tourism is doing by creating ads with lesbians in them and then featuring them in lesbian targeted media. And then the third option is what we call loud and proud. And this is where you take ads that feature LGBT people or themes and you run them in mainstream media. So that's a bit like Target using Gawk as their spokesperson, who is a open and out, loud and proud gay Asian male. So when we talk about championing LGBT with LGBT creative, we did find that 3 in 4 of the consumers who took the survey said that ads need to feature more LGBT people. I'm actually surprised this number isn't even higher. I would expect almost all of them to have said, yes, I'd like to see more LGBTs represented in advertising. So one of the first questions clients often ask about this then is, okay, well, does that mean I need to create new advertising that has some skin or some sexiness in it? And here we found a real split, with about half the sample saying, yes, sex sells, I do like to see some skin in ads. When we looked at the data through the lens of the gay and bi males versus the lesbian and bi women, here's where we saw a real difference emerge, with about 2/3, 65% of gay and bi men saying, yes, sex does sell and I like to see some skin in the ads, whereas only about 3 in 10 lesbians or bi women said the same. But even better than using sex to sell, which is a pretty obvious trick, we think that the real opportunity here is for brands to take a stand on an issue that is important to the LGBT community. And what we did in the survey was we asked them, from a long list of different things, what they considered to be the greatest challenges of our time. And they were allowed to select up to three different options. What was really surprising coming out of this was that it wasn't actually marriage equality as the number one challenge, even though marriage equality tends to get the most media time. It was actually ending LGBT youth bullying and suicide. Statistically, we know that LGBT youth are much more likely to attempt suicide than non-LGBT youth. So this is a real issue and problem in the community, and it's hasn't really been serviced or addressed or tackled by any companies or brands yet. In fact, probably the best example of an organization trying to tackle it is the It Gets Better project, which is a series of videos where anyone, it can be a celebrity, an LGBT person, a non-LGBT person, basically saying, you know what, life growing up is not easy when you're LGBT, but if you just hang in there, don't worry, it will get better. And it's become a viral video sensation, and there are hundreds of these It Gets Better videos out there now, really worth checking out. But from a marketer standpoint, no brand has really tapped into this cause successfully yet. The second most important challenge was LGBT marriage equality in Australia. A lot of the survey respondents mentioned Ben & Jerry's I Do product as a real good example of a brand getting into this space and making a real statement about it. The third was LGBT rights around the world. So this survey ran late 2013. So this is obviously around the time of the Winter Olympics being announced in Sochi and all the terrible things happening to LGBTs in Russia. So that's very top of mind. And then the fourth was ending HIV. Which, the Project Red campaign is a good example of a brand, or various brands that have managed to contribute to this cause. So speaking of Sochi and what to do about that situation, we did ask the consumers who took the survey what should be done about Russia. And interestingly, the majority, or 49% of them, said put pressure on our politicians to address the issue. That seemed to be the way that they think the most action can be done. About 19% said simply boycott the companies that sponsor the Olympics. 14% said have openly gay celebrities and Olympians like Matt Mitchum speak out. And probably the least popular response was 2% don't drink Russian vodka. The gays just don't want to give up their vodka. So that was not a very popular option there. So just to wrap up and leave you with a list of some do's and don'ts for success with LGBTs, we'll start with the don'ts. The first one is don't stereotype. And we asked them to tell us in their own words what marketers should know. And don't stereotype was a very common response that we found. A lot of people saying, you know what, our community is diverse. We don't want to all be depicted the same. Not every single male is a muscle Mary, and not every single lesbian wants to be presented as being butch. If you almost kind of go back to the Modern Family example that I gave in section 1, we really want to be presented as a diverse community, as we actually are in reality. The second is don't overuse sex. So as we saw, it's a bit of a divide there. Some people do think sex sells, and then some don't. So it really just depends on who you're targeting. And the third don't was don't underestimate our loyalty. So as we've seen throughout this research, companies that target this audience reap a lot of benefits in terms of gaining instant relevance and gaining our ongoing advocacy. And then to leave you with a few do's. The first one is be sure to do your homework. Just like any target segment that you'd want to market to, you need to really do your homework and understand them and understand how they perceive your brand and how they perceive your competitors, how they shop your category, all the kinds of things that you would traditionally do with any kind of segment. So be sure you do your homework. Do also promote workplace diversity. So they said, you know what, it's really important to know what a company is doing behind the scenes, not just how they're marketing to us, but how they actually treat their LGBT employees. So if your brand or company is doing things to create fairness and equality within your workforce, be sure to talk about that. And then the third is to be sure to commit to this market. LGBT consumers have what I call a pretty strong radar to a bullshit detector. We can tell when companies are coming in to just get us for 1 month or whatnot, and then swoop back out. So it's the brands that have been targeting the LGBT consumers for a long time that really get mentioned the most as the brands that we favor. So we can tell when a company is really committed to us. And I think probably the best way to sum this up is the way that one of our respondents did in this survey. So this is the final thought. This person said, "I'm gay and I spend. If you go out of your way to advertise to me, then I will go out of my way to bring my business to you." And I think that really kind of sums up the potential upside for brands that reach out to the LGBT market. So that wraps up the Pink Monitor 2014. Just want to say thank you for your time. If you have any questions about the various forms of LGBT media in Australia, please reach out to Ben Mulcahy at Pink Media Group. And if you have any questions about the research, please feel free to reach out to myself, Ben Grill, from the Insights Grill. Our contact information is on the last slide here. So thank you very much for your time.